All right, so we got a very small clip of the finals at Gamescom about a month ago, and this game looked very interesting. Well, jackfrags actually just dropped a nice little video on it, about 8 minutes long. So let's see what Mr. Frags has to say here.
I was recently invited to a behind-the-scenes look at a new game called The Finals, and it's possibly one of the most ambitious first-person shooter games that I've seen in a long time.
I'll try to give my feedback as much as possible.
And based on the
as I can.
gameplay that I saw, it's definitely got some of the best destruction ever in a PvP game.
Those look really
It's
cool.
being developed by Embark Studios, who themselves are a fairly new studio forming in November 2018. And one of the co-founders is none other than Patrick Sutherland, who was the executive vice president at EA,
This is a different
and also
game, right?
the CEO of DICE at one point. Yeah. And in relation to that, there's a lot of ex-DICE developers working at
really
Embark,
cool, like,
and you
straight
can
up out of
definitely
Battlefield.
feel and see those Battlefield, Battlefront vibes in the gameplay trailer.
It's really
now, you
cool.
may have heard of another game that this studio are developing called Arc Raiders.
Oh,
Not much is known about that,
makes
but we
sense.
have seen some
So it
footage
is a
already.
completely different
Now,
game.
these two games couldn't be more different, though. The Finals is a team-based first-person shooter, which on the surface may not sound that groundbreaking.
That looks
but
really
it's the
cool.
level of interaction with the environment and the destruction that looks to set this game apart. It's described as a first-person shooter that pushes environmental dynamism, destruction, and player freedom to the limits. It also happens to be free.
Yeah, this looks really cool just because we haven't seen destruction like this in a while. It kind of seems to me like in the last quite a few Battlefields even, like they toned a lot of that stuff down. Like it's there, but you don't see all the little pieces of debris and, I don't know. It's just not like it was back when Frostbite first launched, that's for sure.
Play. At its basic level, you play as a contestant in an over-the-top ultimate entertainment game show. And the developers make no bones about the fact that this is not a hyper-realistic game. Its purpose is to be over-the-top and, most importantly, fun.
Thank you.
Play in squads of three.
I know. Look. Okay. I'm sorry for stopping it again, but the one thing I'm honestly getting really tired of is Battlefield, and even Call of Duty to an extent, always tries to be like this really realistic, you know what I mean, like grounded game. When most of us honestly don't want that. We just want you to go all out. Go fucking wacky. Go wild. Do a bunch of crazy shit in your game, man.
Against 3 other teams, so that's 12 players in total. Although the game is in early development, so nothing is truly locked in just yet. When you join a match, you need to hunt down boxes of cash that dynamically spawn into the level. When you find them, you take them to an extraction point and hold that point for a short period of time to bank that cash. There is a leaderboard in the game that shows which team have deposited the most money, and once one box is extracted, another will spawn somewhere to replace it. So the game is all about fighting for these resources across the map. The maps themselves are based on iconic real-world locations according to the developers. The trailer that you're watching in the background here is loosely based on Monaco's Old Town. And while they didn't really want to get into too much detail about how many arenas or maps there would be at launch, they did say that they're currently playtesting multiple. Also, it's important to note that these maps are quite close quarters. Think city centre, downtown area, rather than a battle royale size map. Now you may have noticed the biggest feature of the entire game is destruction. And
Call of Duty needs a competitor, for one thing too. You know what I mean? Like, Battlefield's been failing throughout the last few years, and there's not like a really good arena style shooter that really can stand up to Call of Duty, like, at all. I'm not saying that this is going to, but it would be nice if there was actually some competition. I'm hoping for the same thing for that for the X-Defiant game. I honestly hope that that's good too.
The developers have said that the entire level can be destroyed, from small items such as furniture all the way up to large buildings.
Like, you see all the pieces?
As you can see in this gameplay footage here in the recent trailer they released, it looks very impressive at times. I'm not sure we've seen this kind of stuff for a while. It actually reminded me a lot of the destruction that we saw in some of the earlier Frostbite engine titles like Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3. This isn't just a small amount of debris though, we're talking full destruction across the whole level. And more importantly, Embark told us that they've managed to move destruction and movement to the server side rather than the client side, which is how most multiplayer games operate. And this means that for their game, that realistic collapsing of entire buildings is possible. And while I'm not a game developer,
That's really
this is
cool.
something that is apparently incredibly difficult to achieve. In fact, the developers working on this system have wanted to do something similar for years, but have been unable to until now. And they even mentioned the Holy Grail when talking to us about it, so you can appreciate how difficult a task this must have been to achieve. The destruction looks really good here. And it'll be interesting to see exactly how this benefits the players when we finally get to jump into the game. One of the things that the server-side destruction and player movement brings, though, is actually shown off quite well in the trailer. When the side of a building is destroyed, it almost becomes its own platform,
Yeah, I was
falling
gonna
to
say
the
that,
floor
like, when it-
with a player
yeah.
on top of it. And you can imagine some of the gameplay opportunities that might revolve around
It almost
this.
looks like you can go
Now,
underneath of
alongside
it
the
too, like
destruction,
underneath of
you
it,
can also
over it.
interact with physical objects around you, pick them up, throw them, and while not everything can be interacted with their current build, that's what they're aiming for ultimately. You can even set things on fire, and we do get to see a little bit of that in the trailer. There are also other factors at play here apart from the destruction, including a
So pretty
It's the
much,
mother road.
sorry about the ad, guys.
The
So
flip
pretty
side
much
to
what they're
wasted
going to
time on the
do
highway filled with
is they're going to give you a
dynamic weather
level,
system
and they're just going
and a
to
dynamic
let
time
you
of day.
mash
The
it.
devs didn't go into too much
They're
detail
gonna let you just
on how
destroy
these
the entire
systems
level.
will impact the gameplay, but they did say that they want players to have
But it's
to
cool
adapt
because like the
to
more that
different
you destroy it, the more
circumstances.
it's going to be turning into
And
like
it's cool though, the
new
finals,
paths and different.
it still looks like it's a shooter
some
with
different
the time
ways
to
to play
kill
and stuff
slightly
like that.
on
I
the
think that's
longer
cool.
side. There were also all sorts of guns on display in the gameplay, from an M60 machine gun to a MAC-10, a Magnum, a flamethrower, what looked like an M1 Garand, an AK, and of course the friend of destruction, the grenade launcher. It's very reminiscent of how Battlefield used to play out, when you would find a player hiding in a building, just go ahead, take the building out. We also saw a goo gun, and we did get to see some gameplay of that in the trailer. It
I was
emits a
wondering
big
what that
area
was.
of goo or foam that can be used to either reinforce buildings or to block areas off entirely, and also use it to build bridges and create new pathways to higher or lower
okay.
ground. The devs told us too that they want complete freedom to set up your player character however you want. This means both visual and gameplay customization, and they showed us quite a few examples of how these player characters can differ, from an ancient warrior to a ballerina, yes I said ballerina, a mime, as well as a more standard
it's
looking
whatever.
character.
I honestly think
And
that's what's
some
cool with
really
these games.
bizarre ones. There's
When
a
they
lot
can
of
just go all
variation
out with
here.
it.
You
We're
could
just gonna
also
get
build out
everything,
your
and I think that's awesome.
abilities and loadout, and because of the degree of
You got cowboys, you got
customization,
samurais,
you can essentially
you got a kid
create
wearing
a
a
more
Jason
glass
mask.
cannon ninja, so a character that can move around really nimbly but has a lot less health, or say a tank with a rocket launcher that can be the one who destroys buildings for your team. We were told that these characters are ones that you build yourself rather than them being provided. And customization then allows the player to play how they want
That's
and how
actually
they
really
look.
cool.
And this
Fuck
seemed to be
yeah.
a big point. In fact, they want this game to be as intuitive as possible. So if you think in your head that something should work, it probably will if you test it. And at the very least, they want to make a game that says yes more than it says no. Wrapping things up, the finals is still in very early development.
I love
but what I
that.
did like was that the
I honestly love that. Like, I think certain games have that little bit of an aspect to them, especially like, you know, Warzone. Like, Warzone had a big one because when it very first came out, like, the possibilities were endless. Everybody was trying to do weird things, you know? What if I was to take this chopper and fly next to another chopper and try to throw a C4 after I switch seats and throw the C4 out of the chopper and blow up another chopper midair? You know what I mean? There's certain... When it very first launched, you wouldn't even think that those types of things in a video game were possible until, you know, Warzone came out. I mean, you could do kind of those things in Battlefield, but you guys kind of get my point, right?
devs were open to feedback and change if it's needed. Nothing is currently locked in, and with a closed alpha coming up, they want all the feedback they can get. But you need to be warned, they have made it very clear that there are many experimental features in this game, and they're pushing the boundaries of that technology, and with that comes bugs. There's going to be a lot to iron out, so bear that in mind if you get to try the alpha. There's a big ambition with the finals, no doubt, and while it could be easy at first glance to think that this is a generic arena FPS or a game similar to many others that have come before it, it's definitely pushing some envelopes, and it's a high-tempo game with character abilities and fall destruction, and I'm absolutely on board with that. I hope they can pull it off in the long run. It's just so cool to see this level of destruction again. So that's all. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. How do you feel about this one? If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Good stuff, Jack. gonna drop a like on that. Yeah, man, this is good stuff. Honestly, just like I said, I honestly think that Call of Duty needs some competition in the arena shooter style of mode, and also it would be nice just to, you know, have something different. I think gaming has just been so dry as of lately. We need some new ideas, something different, something that, is actually innovative, something that we haven't really seen before. And not that we completely haven't seen this, but the destruction on that level in the arena style and that like tight of a space and stuff like that. Plus, it's free to play with all their customization and stuff that they can do nowadays. I'm really excited for this one, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. I'm gonna have a link to this video down there below, along with Jack's channel and all the other links. Love you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Later.